Hello, everybody. Good evening. Let's see you all just joining here. Let's just give everybody a chance just to log in. Can see lots of names there, familiar faces. So, hello to Alex, James, Lee, Gordon, Maggie. We've got Peter, Tim, Tanisha, Rohit, Liberty. We've got Gemma. Guys, in the chat, just let me know where you're tuning in from today, and we will give you a shout out. So just give everyone a chance to log in there. As ever, make sure you're switching off all your distractions. Focus on what we're going to be talking about today. We have got lots to get through, and there are lots of opportunities for you to ask questions as well as answer them as well. So in the chat, guys, you will see, there you go. You've all found the chat. Fantastic. So we have got Tanisha from London, Colin from Birmingham, Nick from Sheffield, got Andrew from Lincoln, Maggie from the Lake District, Samaya from London. We've got Colin from Links, Denise from Tunbridge Wells, Rohit from London, Timmy from London, and Bruce from Eastleigh. Fantastic. Hi, Tim, as well from Milton Keynes. Lots of you just jumping in there. Okay, guys. So we've got lots to get through. As I said, we're going to be talking about unlocking 5-figure commissions in property sourcing. 5-figure commissions. If you would like to earn over £10,000 in sourcing fees per transaction, put a 5 in the chat so that you know you're all in the right place if you're here to unlock 5-figure commissions from property sourcing. Looks like we have got lots of our sourcing members here as well. So welcome to you guys. Lots of 5s coming through in the chat. Great, just checking you're all with us and you're in the right place. Fantastic. So today, James is saying high 5. Hi to James there. So with us today, we have got Paul Stapleton. You might have met Paul at one of our events, obviously our Property and Entrepreneur Summit, or another event that he might have been speaking about. Long-term friend of YPN, and our partner with Total Sourcing as well. So Paul, are you there? Paul is just going to join us. You might notice he's looking a bit brown. He's been away and he's suffering from the Ibiza flu, right?
Definitely, yeah. It's the well, I say it's the Ibiza flu. It's probably the aircon, but we'll go with that. It sounds better.
It does. So I know we've got lots to get through tonight, Paul, and this is a really popular topic with lots of our members who are obviously looking potentially to replace their day job with some of these transaction fees. So I think everyone's here. They're all in the right place, ready for
Perfect.
you to start, and then we'll come back on for Q&A at the end as well.
Wicked. Thank you, Michelle. So let's get started. So unlocking 5-figure commissions. This is all about a strategy that I've been using for many, many years now, ever since I started property sourcing, which has enabled me to earn over £10,000 on average every single deal. Now, excuse me, just to introduce myself, I run multiple businesses. I run a company called Training Made Simple Academy. I co-founded Peak Performance Events. I have a property company called Casita Properties, and also the co-founder, along with Michelle, of the Property and Entrepreneur Summit. So my property journey, I've done quite a lot over the very short time that I've been doing this, around sort of 8 years now. I actually started off as a sales and business mentor, and I would work with estate agents and insurance brokers. And I had a passion for property. I always knew that I wanted to be in property, but I just didn't know what my entry level would be. So fast forward to 2016, I joined forces with a good friend of mine, and we started doing things such as title splits and fractional sales. In 2018, we moved away from that and we started doing just standard buy-to-let investment sales. So blocks of apartments, flats, HMOs, you name it, we sold it. And then in 2020, we were approached by a supported living provider to help source properties for them, which was great fun. And then 2021, we focused the business purely on tenanted properties, which is what we still do today. In 2022, I found a strategy called assisted sales, which is how I invest the profits that I make from my overage sourcing. So that's just a bit about my property journey. Now, using my property journey, I'm going to explain how I've been able to use the overage strategy across different property strategies out there. So in 2016, when I was doing title splits and fractional sales, we would use our overage contract to look at blocks of apartments like this. We would agree a price for the whole block of apartments and divide that by the number of units in that block. Now, let's say for argument's sake, every unit worked out to be around £80,000. We'd then go on the market and we would look, if we were to sell these as individual units, what would they be worth? And let's say for argument's sake, they were worth £90,000. That gave us a £10,000 margin commission per transaction that we sold these on to our investors. So we were able to use the overage selling strategy for title splitting and then fractionally selling those off to individual investors. In 2020, when we started working with a supported living provider, we were targeted with going out and finding entire rows of new build developments or blocks of apartments. And we were given a price per unit that they were willing to pay. My job was to go out and find these units at the cheapest price possible, and using the overage strategy, secure a cheap price and make the margin all the way up to the price we had already agreed the supported living provider was willing to pay. So let's again say, for argument's sake, they were willing to pay £100,000 per 2-bedroom house. If we were able to secure those for 90,000, then we would make a £10,000 profit per house that we sold to them, again using the overage sourcing contract. And then fast forwarding to 2021, where we do individual tenanted property sales now, we're able to use this on individual lets and individual properties, whereby again we're securing individual properties through estate agents or off market, agreeing a cheaper price, selling it for the market value and making the difference as a commission. And as I said, we then started to invest our profits into assisted sales, and we actually use the overage agreement as a basis for our assisted sale agreement. So we would secure the property for 100,000, we would spend £10,000 on refurbing it, and we would sell it on for the new value of 130,000. So we would make the entire margin between 100 and 130,000. So it's a really good, strong contract that you can use and strategy for whatever you want to do in property, whether it's land, whether it's commercial, residential, BRR, whatever it might be. It's a great contract to secure those higher commissions. So what I wanted to do, firstly, before we get started, is find out what commissions, what fees you guys are currently charging your clients. So just in the chat, guys, if you can start just putting what your fees are they £3,000, £4,000, £5,000? Let's just get a kind of idea of where you're at right now. Okay, so we've got 3,000 or 2%. Bruce has said 4,000. Paul is a minimum of 3,600, including VAT. 3,000. Bernie's gone 5,000, so that's great. Jason is 2%, 3 to 5,000. Cool. So anywhere between the £3,000 to £5,000 mark. And for those that maybe aren't sourcing right now, where do we think our entry level would be with kind of a low amount of experience? Where do you think you would start charging commission? So Mohammed has said around the 1 to 2,000. Julie said 3%. Okay. Mark's 3 to 5, Jordan's 2.5, and Rohit is 1 to 2. Cool. So what you charge is based on a couple of factors here. And typically, I would say fees vary from 1,000 to £5,000. And a lot of people will ask me, well, that's quite a big margin. How will I know how much I should be charging? So I break it down into three sections. Now, you have sources that do something called lead only sourcing. And that's when I give you a criteria. So I'm looking for a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in Liverpool. And you go away, you go on Rightmove, you find some properties that are 3-bedroom houses in Liverpool, and you just send me Rightmove links. And that's about the bulk of your involvement in that deal. You're providing leads for me to then look at, do my own due diligence, go and view myself, and negotiate the deal myself. So they're called lead only deals, and that's kind of the bottom of sourcing. So £1,000 to £1,500 is roughly where you would charge for that kind of level of service. Then we have the fully packaged service, and this is where most of you have said you would charge, so around the £3,000 to £3,500. Now, a fully packaged deal would be a deal where, again, I've given you the same criteria, but you've gone out, you've visited the property, you've come back, you've reported to me that maybe it needs X, Y, and Z doing to the property. And from speaking to the vendor or speaking to the estate agent, they have signaled that even though it's listed at 120,000, you could probably secure it for 110. So you've visited the property, you've provided your valuation of the property and what you think it needs doing to it, and you've also been able to negotiate a form of discount as well. So that's what I would call a fully packaged deal. You package that up in a nice brochure, and that's passed on to your investor. And then we're looking at the higher end, so something around the £4,500 to £5,000 mark. And this is when the deals need to be a bit more juicy. So ideally, they need to be an exclusive deal. So a deal that's off market. It's not available to anybody else. It's exclusive to you. You're solely instructed. They could not find this anywhere else. It already has a large discount. Maybe it has a 20% discount on the property. And maybe you're in a position where you've already got builders quotes to say it needs X, Y, and Z doing to it. This is what it would cost. And maybe you already have expected GDVs that are backed up and supported by multiple estate agents as well. So the more services that you add, the more services that you provide, the more you can then charge for your fees. But typically these fees are asked for upfront, or 50% upfront, 50% on exchange. And that comes with a level of risk for the investor as well. Now, additional services that you can provide to get your fees up. So some people like to charge project management. Maybe you're charging 10% the total build in order to manage that for them. Some people will charge a consultancy fee if maybe you've negotiated a lease with a social housing provider. Maybe you offer a tenant finding service, or maybe you're going to provide property management. So there are additional ways that you can generate revenue from that same property other than the initial sourcing fee. But when it comes to overage sourcing, your fees are uncapped. So the bigger the discount that you can get, the higher the price or the closer to the market value that you can secure a buyer for, the bigger the fee becomes for you. And there's no cap on this. You could earn £50,000 if it was a really good deal on a bigger site. You could earn £5,000 on a smaller deal. So what is overage? And I think without complicating it too much, it's this strategy of being able to secure a deal at a discounted price and selling it on to another investor for a higher price. Now, this doesn't mean that we're selling it over and above what the property is actually worth. We're selling it around the market value. The property still needs to value up with the mortgage valuation here. So what we want to do here, agree the best price you can with the vendor. And the best price is to benefit you. So typically with sourcing, we're looking to get the best possible price we can for the buyer because we're charging a fee on top. Now, you have the motivation here to get the best possible price for you, because the bigger the discount, the bigger the margin you'll be receiving on the back end. The next thing you need to do is work out your market value that you can sell this deal on for. So we're not taking notice of what it's listed at. We're not taking notice of what the estate agent has said it's worth. What we're doing here is a really high level of due diligence at sold comparables and looking at this deal through the eyes of a mortgage valuer, because at the end of the day, that's the most important person in the transaction. Whatever they value that property at is typically what the deal will complete at and what it will go through, and that will impact how much commission you make from this. So you really need to get this spot on. So looking at comparables that are like for like within a quarter of a mile within the last 6 to 12 months is going to be essential. If you know the area, that will be even better, because then you will understand road from road as to what the property prices should be, whether certain roads are less desirable than others, maybe other roads will be more affluent and the prices will be higher. But really having a good understanding on being able to work out the market value is going to be essential here. The next thing you need to do, and this is very different from normal sourcing where you're working with the buyer, is you need to get your overage agreement signed by the vendor. So essentially, like an estate agent, you're instructed by the vendor to sell the property. Now, what the overage agreement does is it locks in the price that the vendor's agreed with you, and it states that any price over and above the price agreed with the vendor becomes your commission and is payable to you upon legal completion. So it's really important that we get this signed by the vendor. Now, you can do that through the estate agent, or you can do it direct to the vendor. I always like to do it direct to the vendor because I like them to know everything about the structure before we go into the deal. There's nothing worse than getting to the point of invoicing for the commission and it's a complete surprise to them as to how much you're getting paid. So never rely on the estate agent to be able to explain this as well as you. So when it comes to invoicing, we invoice for that difference between the vendor price and the sale price. And that's typically done around the completion time. So just before we're about to exchange, the solicitor, the seller solicitor will request your invoice so that it can be put on the completion statement. That's then agreed by the seller, and then your commission is paid within 3 days of completion and the legal funds being held by the seller's solicitor. So just again, as a very layman term example, so the vendor price that we've agreed on this particular house is £120,000. We're able to sell this at the market value, which is £130,000, and the sourcing fee on this becomes £10,000. That's not payable up front. This is paid to you not from the buyer, but it's paid to you from the seller upon legal completion. Now, here are a couple of questions that were asked on the last on the last webinar that we did. So I thought it would be really good as like an FAQ to kind of go through them with you. So who pays the fee? So the fee is paid by the buyer's solicitor. You're invoicing the buyer. The buyer offsets that invoice against their tax bill because the deal's obviously going through at a higher amount than they're actually netting. And this is paid to you, as I said, on legal completion. I tend to ask for it to be paid faster payment, and I will pay the charge for that as well. It's typically about £30 admin fee so that I get paid on the day of completion. Typically, completions happen on a Friday. So if we're having to wait 3 working days, we could be waiting as long as Tuesday, if not Wednesday, the following week. So if we've waited maybe 3 months for a deal to complete, you want to be getting paid as quickly as possible. Who's the contract with? So the contract is always with the seller. So you're not contracted by the buyer. In this case, this is where it's very different. You're contracted by the seller to sell the property, and you're getting your fee directly from the seller. You're not getting a buyer's fee from the buyer. And that's the difference with this. You're sacrificing getting paid up front from the buyer to getting paid a much higher fee, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times the normal fee, but on the back end, on completion. The fee, as we said, is paid upon completion. it becomes due on exchange of contracts. So if the deal doesn't complete for any reason, you're still due your commission, but it's paid upon legal completion out of the funds. Now, this is the question that a lot of people tend to get worried about. So, will the buyer ever find out what my fee is? The simple answer is they shouldn't do. And if we look at this as a normal estate agency deal, typically when you're the buyer of the property, do you ever tend to find out whether the estate agent has charged the buyer 1% or 2%? It's never a conversation that needs to happen. As far as the buyer is concerned, you are fully retained by the seller, and that is a huge benefit to them by working with a property sourcer, that they're not having to pay sourcing fees. So typically, it's not something that they would ever find out. The only way that they may find out is if you allow the buyer and the seller to communicate, which, as a sourcer, as an estate agent, as a broker, whatever you kind of package yourself as, your job is to be that middle person and to control those conversations. So you should never allow the buyer and the seller to be communicating. Even if you're going on a viewing, I would always advise that the seller is not in the property when you're doing the viewing, and that you're left to do your job, and that you always keep them two separately. So the simple answer is no, the buyer shouldn't find out on that. This is another one that lots of people ask. So why would a vendor agree to a big fee? Well, these deals aren't deals that have just come to the market. These are deals that have maybe already been reduced. They're deals that have been on the market for a long time. They haven't been able to sell for whatever reason. They're deals where the vendors are ultra motivated to get these deals through. And if there's a price that they have in mind that they're happy to agree to, then typically they're happy for you to make a margin if you can get someone to transact on that at the price that they need out of the deal. Now, the other thing is that as a overage sourcer, you're taking the risk on the valuation as well. So initially, we might agree a price of 120,000. We're selling it for 130,000, but let's say on the valuation, the property values at £125,000. Well, you've just lost £5,000 of your commission. So the fee is never secured until the point of the valuation. And at that point, you've done the bulk of your job already. So there's that risk over reward as well for them, that yes, you may be in for a large fee, but there's also a chance that you may lose half of your fee if the property is downvalued as well. So I like to kind of use that example if they're ever interested to know how much we're going to make and question why we're making such big fees. But as long as you're providing a solution to a problem that they have, so they have a problematic property, they've not been able to sell it, the estate agent hasn't been able to sell it, whatever the situation is, as long as you can position yourself as someone who is a problem solver and can solve the problem for them, there shouldn't be any issues with the amount of money that you are making on this transaction. What are the biggest benefits? So I've actually gone into a couple of little bullet points here. So one of the biggest benefits for you is, yes, you're going to make bigger fees. And with those bigger fees, you are sacrificing getting paid up front. But again, risk over reward here. If you're taking your average fee from £3,000 to £10,000, is it going to hurt to wait for 3 months in order to get that deal through? Absolutely not. The reward is going to be greater. No buyer's fees. Now, this is really important, and I think this is kind of like the main takeaway from this strategy for me is just in the comment section, guys, how many of you that are currently running sourcing businesses get in a position where a buyer loves your deal, but they're not willing to pay an upfront sourcing fee? So a 1, if you've ever been through that, and a 2 if you haven't yet. So we've got a few people that haven't been through it yet, and I'm assuming maybe that's the case that we haven't done any deals yet. but certainly lots of people that have had people showing resistance on a buyer's fee. Now, I speak to lots of investors, and I tend to inherit a lot of investors that have worked with sources where they paid upfront fees and things have gone wrong with the deal, and it's been really difficult to get the money back from the sourcer when the deal falls through. There will be arguments on both sides whether it is or isn't refundable, the actual sourcing fee. In a state agency, you don't get paid until the transaction completes, and me personally, I don't think it should be any different. But one of the biggest things that I found is going to networking events and introducing myself as a property sourcer who is looking to work with investors in the room. But the great thing about me is that I'm always fully retained by the seller, so I don't charge any sourcing fees. That has always made me stand out from the crowd in a room full of property sourcers that charge upfront fees. It helps de-risk the transaction for a lot of buyers. They like the fact that they're not having to hand over money to a stranger and not have the risk that if the deal doesn't go through, that they're not going to get their money back. And I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard a lot of horror stories as well about deals that have gone wrong and investors that have lost out on their deposits. So it actually makes you more attractive as a property sourcer, but you don't charge an upfront fee. And it actually will make it a lot quicker for you to build your client investor database up as well. So it's a massive, massive selling point. It's lower risk. So again, it's lower risk to the investors. So similar to what we just touched on. And you don't have the headache of the no refund policy. So there's 4 really good benefits there as to why I think this is a great strategy. 3 are aimed at your investor, and it gives them 3 great reasons why they should work with you. The other one is aimed for you, which is the incentive to earn huge, huge fees here. Just quickly, guys, so just to let you know, obviously we're running through the overage strategy today, and we're going to be going into it a bit more. But we are running an advanced course as well on the 15th of July at 7 p.m, where we're going to be going through everything like the contracts, how I secure them through estate agents and make deals that are on the market become off-market deals. How I negotiate directly with vendors as well, and lots more. So we will talk about that a bit later on in this webinar, but I just thought I'd let you know there is going to be an advanced level course as well coming later. So if anyone is already interested in that and you want to check that out while we're on here, just put a 1 in the chat now and Michelle will paste the link in for you. So one of the tools that I use for finding motivated sellers and finding deals that are ideal for overage sourcing, for instance, is something called Property Tracker. Now, Property Tracker is an extension on Google Chrome. I love using Google Chrome because there's plenty of extensions that we can use to help us on our property searches. This one in particular is one that I really enjoy using. It's a free extension, and I'm going to show you exactly how I use it on Rightmove. So here's an example of a property that I found on Rightmove. And what you'll notice differently on this listing than you would if you search for it yourself is that the extension has been activated, and we have this little arrow here at the side of the price. Now, there's 3 different arrows that we need to consider. There's an arrow that points up, which is red, and that means the property price has increased since it's been listed on Rightmove. We might have 2 arrows pointing left and right that are blue, which means since the property's been listed, it hasn't moved price. That, to me, if that property's been listed for, let's say, 3 months and the price hasn't moved, that would signal to me that we're probably dealing with someone who isn't a motivated seller. They're not in a rush, they're not willing to lower the price. But what we're looking for are the green arrows that are pointing down. And this signals to us that this property has been reduced. Now, at this point, we don't know by how much. So what we do is we hover our cursor over the arrow, and it will open a box like this. So we can see that this property was listed on the 18th of November last year at 140,000, and it has been reduced multiple times all the way down to its current price, which is £125,000. Now, there's multiple reasons why it's been reduced. It could be that it was never worth 140,000 in the first place. Maybe it's had multiple deals fall through and they're ultra motivated to sell because they're involved in a chain. Who knows? These are the kind of questions that we need to ask when we get on the phone to the estate agent. But this is a good sign for me. I'd be looking at this thinking, right, if I can justify that the market value of this property is 140,000, even 135,000, and we're able to secure that for 125,000, me personally, I'd go 5 grand less. So I'd be looking at £120,000 offer. But let's just say we're offering them what they're asking for, which is 125,000. That would give us a £15,000 commission if we were able to sell that at full market value to our investors, and secure that property at £125,000, which effectively is the asking price. So you're giving them what they're asking for, and you're achieving a price that was not obtainable to them in the best part of what, maybe 8-9 months. So even though you're making £15,000, they haven't lost £15,000 because it was never actually achievable for them on this property. They've exhausted the online market. So hopefully that makes sense on that one. I've got a couple of case studies that I'm going to share with you. These are case studies of deals that I've done. I'm going to explain how I found them. It's 2 different scenarios here. So this is a property in Preston. It was listed with a local agent and it was part of a much larger portfolio. So we contacted the agent. The property was online. He said it's one of 9 properties, and if we could sell this one for them, then they would offer us the rest of the portfolio to sell completely off market. Now, we got a really good deal on this one, and we did manage to sell it, and we ended up selling the entire portfolio of 9 properties for £87,000. Now, on this particular property, because this was our first one, we managed to get it agreed for 85,000. We managed to sell it for 100,000. It was actually listed for 90,000, but we thought it was massively underpriced. So we made £15,000 on this. Now, obviously, the vendor saw how much we made, and it made it a bit more difficult to negotiate the next 8. So we agreed a fixed fee with the overage of £9,000 per unit. So on the 8 remaining units, we made a £9,000 commission on each one. And on the first one, we ended up making 15,000. So just from that one relationship and proving the proof of concept, we were able to make £87,000 through one vendor over the course of about 9 months from deals that were found on Rightmove. Now, lots of people will kind of say to me, how do you get a deal that's on Rightmove taken off of Rightmove to sell to your investors? Again, the biggest thing here is establishing why the property isn't selling, what the problem is for the estate agent, and understanding what part of your service will be a solution to that problem. Now, if this property's been on the market for 3 months and it hasn't shifted, then they're obviously going to be open to alternative ways of selling it. So if you are a property investment company, a property sourcer, you have access to investors that are looking for properties that are off market, then for me, I only offer properties that are off market to my investors. So I wouldn't be able to show this to them until it was taken down. Now, typically, I will know if I can sell this property within 2 weeks. So I only ever ask for a 2-week grace period of the property being unlisted. So over those 2 weeks, I'll be marketing it to my investors. If I can sell it within 2 weeks, then I make my commission. If I can't sell it within 2 weeks, then the chances are I probably wouldn't be able to sell it in 4 or 6 weeks because my investor database is always active. If I feel like I need a bit more time and I have people that are interested, then I always just go back to the agent or the vendor and just say, look, I'm very close with a couple of people, but they're just needing a bit more time. And I extend the contract for another week. But it's a great way of being able to work with estate agents. And once you do that first deal and you build that proof of concept up with them and you build that relationship up with them, that particular agent will be great for a lifetime of deals. So many people that go to seminars and go through mentors and that will be told, look, cut the agent out, go direct to vendor. Direct to vendor deals are the best, everything like that. And I agree that direct to vendor deals are great. But if I were to cut the agent out of, let's say, this particular transaction, not only did I do the 9 properties with this agent, but I've also gone on to do near on another 20 units with this agent. So I would have probably shot myself in the foot. So the best thing is to build that relationship up with the agent, provide a service that benefits them, and then they will keep bringing you more and more deals. And when they understand how much you're making on these, they understand what margins you're going to need. I tend to pay my estate agents £500 for any referrals that they bring over to me that complete. So having the overage system, it actually allows you to have a bit of negotiation power as well with them. This is another example of a deal. It's probably one of my favorites actually, because this had been listed on the market for a very, very long time. And I actually remember looking at this deal, but the agents were just awful. They never answered the phone. And when you did get through, they never seemed to know anything about the property. But I post regularly on LinkedIn. And I put a post out that we were looking for tenanted properties in a certain area. This was in Cumbria, an area called Whitehaven. And I put that we were looking for properties in Cumbria. And just by chance, the actual owner of this property saw our post, I think because we were location specific on it. And they reached out to us to say that they had a tenanted property in the Cumbria area. Would we be interested? And the fact that we could share our experience with their agent actually made it a lot easier for us to negotiate this to be taken away from the agent. It wasn't an agency that we wanted to work with. And this was a deal that we were able to generate as an inbound lead directly from a LinkedIn post. So we were able to agree a price of £85,000 with the vendor. We sold the property for £100,000. And we made a commission of 15%. Now, just out of interest, how many of you on here are currently using LinkedIn to generate leads and generate investors and find deals that are off market? Just a 1 if you are and a 2 if you're not in the chat. Okay, so it's definitely a 50-50 split at the moment. Some are, some aren't. And the ones that are, I'm recognizing and I'm seeing your posts as well. So that's great. Cool. Okay. I actually think that LinkedIn is the best lead generator as well if we're looking at social media for investors and for deals. Michelle and I run a 28-day, what we call a 28-day challenge using LinkedIn every 2 months. And what this challenge is it's a 28-day kind of course where we help you find investors, we help you source deals, and we help you grow your network. So we do a 2-hour training course. We then set goals on how many impressions you need to make. We set targets. We also have like a content scheduler as well. So we'll give you ideas what to post on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, that kind of thing. You're in a group of other like-minded people using LinkedIn, and you're able to like and comment on each other's posts, which helps with the algorithm as well. So if anyone's interested to learn a bit more on how, well, look, I've made just over £600,000 worth of commissions through deals that I've sourced on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in that alone, then we're doing a free webinar on the 15th of July, 7 p.m. If you're interested to understand how you can grow your network on there and network with the right people, then again, join that free webinar. And also, if you're looking to find more investors and good quality investors, and maybe you're location specific or a certain job role that you think your ideal investor is under, then again, that's stuff that we cover in that free session as well. So I think Michelle's going to paste a link. Yep, Michelle's just pasted the link in the chat. You can also scan the QR code if that's easier, and you can register on the Zoom link just like you did for this one, and hopefully see a lot of you on there as well. Cool. So I just want to see if anyone has any questions with regards to the overage sourcing, how you guys can get involved in it. Maybe you have some questions on the actual advanced training that maybe we're looking to do. So Michelle, I don't know if we can open up the chat for any questions that people may have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had quite a few questions coming through. We've got nearly 100 people online. So if we do miss your question, feel free to repost it because we've had quite a few coming through. So there was a few questions on the agent fees, Paul. So you've just you've given us an example there about working with an agent and don't cut them out because they're going to be bringing you more deals. So could you just go into that in a bit more detail about how the agent gets their fee and what's the agent's fee based on?
Yeah. So the agent still is under contract with the seller. So they still get their fee from the seller. So they will still get their 1%, their 2%, whatever they're contracted in. The £500 is something that we provide just as an incentive and a thank you for referring over deals to us. So yeah, we base it on whether we think that the deal is worth it as well. If they're providing deals that have very little margin, then obviously the 500 isn't on offer. So typically there has to be a minimum of £10,000 to get the £500, and what that actually does is gets them on side to negotiate that deal hard for us.
Okay, and so is it just a standard £500 that you would say as a thank you?
Yeah, we do have one agent that we work with that we give £1,000 to, but that's that they will go away and try and get us £15,000 to £20,000 discount. So they're incentivized to get a much higher fee for us.
I'm sure. So they're getting double the fee from the seller as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds like a great deal for them. Okay, so Andrew, great question from Andrew. Would you ever do work to increase the market value of the property, either funded personally or by the seller?
So as I mentioned in my sort of property journey, I took on the assisted sale model to invest the profits that I made from overage. And at the time, I didn't know that was called assisted sales. What I did is like you've said, I saw a property that I thought would be ideal for my clients, but my clients want a complete turnkey product. So it needs to be in good condition. It needs to be tenanted. They don't want to have to get their hands dirty. It needed very minor works. So we actually used the overage agreement and added a few special conditions to say, look, we're going to agree 100 with you, but we want access to be able to come in there effectively doing a flip under their ownership, which allowed us to save on stamp duty, on legals, on mortgage broker fees, on all the associated buying costs. So an example of one that we did, we spent 4,120, I think it was, and we made in excess of £26,000 profit on that. So there's huge money to be made on that by increasing the value of the property. But you'd need a specialist contract. I did use my overage contract, but now I have a much stronger contract that protects me a lot more if I'm investing money into someone else's deal.
Great. I put the link in the chat as well, guys. So if you do want to have a look at Paul's advanced overage course, then just click the link that is in the chat. Do you want to just mention, because I think you've got a special discount just for people who are on with us today?
Yeah, so just touching on that quickly. So we'll go back to the questions. What's included in the advanced course? It's a 2-hour webinar using our learn strategy. So the learn strategy basically is structured so that we teach you how to learn how to structure your deals, so how the overage structure works, how to negotiate with estate agents, which is going to be really, really important, how to approach vendors again. So even if you are negotiating with an estate agent, you still want to be the person pitching the vendor as well. It's almost like a double pitch. How to review your deal's suitability. So this is really delving into how I look at the market value through a valuer's eyes to ensure that if you think you can sell it for 140, is it definitely going to stack up with a mortgage valuer at 140? The last thing you want to be doing is doing deals where it's valuing at the price you've agreed or the price lower than you've agreed, and then you're not making any money. And then navigating the legal contract. So included in the price that you pay, you get the 2-hour advanced training, which on my website it RRPs for $799. You get the full recording to watch over again. You get a copy of the contract that I use. So again, you can use my contract or you can go and get your own contract. My contract cost me £999. You get access to 3 online trainings to assist you. These are on my website. You get 12 months access to those. They would RRP for £588 for the year. It's dealing with estate agents, sales negotiating, and goal setting as well. So in total, that adds up to 2,386 if we were to buy these individually. There's also an add-on, so you can have as many tailored one-to-one calls with me after you've done the training to implement it. They're at a discounted rate of £100. If you put that on my website, they're £179. The £100 is up until the point of us finishing the webinar. After that, if you wanted to book, it would be through my website. For anyone that is on this call today and anyone part of the YPN community, as we're doing it as a group and not as a one-to-one, we're offering a discount where it's £199 if you secure it. We do have another deal. For the first 10 people to buy it before midnight tonight, you're able to secure it for £149. That's limited to 10 people. So the first 10 will get it for £149, a 25% discount. After that, it will be the full price of £199, which is an absolute bargain. If you think of the return on investment on your first deal, you're spending £199 and you're looking to make £7,000 more than the average sourcer is making on a deal. So it's a huge return on investment. But sourcing, and especially overage sourcing, is something that I'm really passionate about. And I definitely think that sourcers are undervalued in the fee that they charge. Even though it's more than an estate agent, I think we do an exceptional job and I think we should get paid for that. And that's why I value my time to the point where I will not do deals under £10,000. And when I think about the first time I did that, I did aim for £10,000 and I was looking at £3,000 as a normal fee. I didn't get £10,000 on that first deal. I got 7, but that was still a win for me because I still earned more than double my standard fee. So it might take you a bit of time. It might be a confidence thing, but as long as you're increasing it, so you might do your first deal at 5,000 on an overage, and then you get a bit more confident. And sometimes 5,000, £10,000 might be so much money to you that it makes you feel uncomfortable asking for that amount initially. Now, for me, whether it's 5,000 or 100,000, it's all the same. I ask for whatever I can get out of a deal. And just to give you an idea, guys, one of the best deals that I've done with the highest commission was a deal in Cumbria whereby we were able to secure a deal at £56,000 and we sold it for £80,000. That's a £24,000 commission. Is nearly a 50% commission. So it's completely uncapped the amount of earnings that you can make using this strategy. So Michelle, have you pasted that in the link?
Yeah, guys, so once you click on that link, it will send you straight to the Eventbrite page where it has limited on the website for 10 discounted tickets. So once those 10 are gone, it will go to the 199 price point. So
and if you scroll down, there is the add-on section. You can add on as many one-to-one sessions as you want at the discounted price of £100. As I said, after the Eventbrite closes, once the webinar's done, the only way of booking an hour's training session with me would be through the website at 179. So it's a great opportunity to get a discount on some one-to-one training, whether it's on this particular strategy or maybe you've got another area within your business that you need help with. Maybe it is building that investor database up. You can do that on those calls with me as well. So let's go back to some of the questions, Michelle.
Yeah, just on the link. So yeah, it should go to the 162. That's for that includes the Eventbrite fee for the website as well. Nick says it's not offering the discount, it goes straight to the 199. So it should, unless we've had 10 people sign up already. Let's
it's
see.
called, no, we've got 2 signed up so far, and it's down as limited offer. So you've got online webinar and you've got limited offer.
Okay, so you're looking for one. If you just scroll down there, you'll be able to find it. So Nick's got it. Great, fantastic. Yeah, so the discounted offer works out with the Eventbrite fee as 162 pounds 14 pence. Absolute no-brainer, considering you're getting the contracts included and the training and everything else we just mentioned there. It's absolute no-brainer. So guys, let us know when you're in, like when we can see when the first 10 people have gone. And let's go back to some questions. So questions either about the training or about overage in general. Paul says, does overage selling work up north because of the rental yields?
So overage, yeah. I mean, overage sourcing works anywhere in the country. The main thing that you have to do is understand who you're selling that deal on to. So if your investors are looking for an 8% yield, well, then you need to focus on areas that at market value, you can obtain an 8% yield. What you don't want to be doing is saying, well, we can sell this for 140,000, but then none of your investors want to buy at 140,000 because it's not producing a strong enough yield. At the same time, I've done certain deals whereby if they look like great deals, I can secure a fantastic discount on them, but it's in an area that maybe isn't an investment area. So maybe it's not a rental area. Maybe the yield is far too low. Let's say, for instance, the area that I live in London. So it's typically a homeowner occupier market. Now, if I'm able to secure a great deal, what I will then do is I will go round to all the local estate agents and say, look, I'm instructed on a property that doesn't fit the criteria of my investors. It has to be sold discreetly and off market, so it can't go online. Does this property match up with any active buyers that you have right now? If it does, I'm happy to pay you a 1% fee for introducing a buyer to us. So even if you haven't got an investor database, you can still sell deals via estate agents. Don't just look at estate agents as a place to go to look for stock. They also need stock, just like you and I do. Typically, they haven't got more than maybe 5 or 6 active listings on Rightmove at any given time. Most of those are always sold subject to contract, and they've got a lot more buyers looking than stock that they have. So I've sold lots of deals through estate agents as well when the criteria hasn't fit my own clients, and I've been able to secure a big enough fee that gives me the profit that I want and a fee for the estate agent to sell it as well.
Right. Nick was asking about the buyers, you already have buyers in your investor list. Okay, I think we've covered that one. Hannah was asking before about how the agent gets paid. So do you present it? How do you present that commission? Do you want to say?
From us?
Yeah, from you.
It's one of those that it's only something that I would offer if it was with an independent estate agency and I was talking to John Smith of John Smith Estates, for instance.
Right.
It's not something I would offer to the junior negotiator, the receptionist, or like a nationwide chain,
Yeah.
because it's not something that they would be in a position to say yes to. So I like to work with independent agents because, one, me personally, I feel like they get more stock. People like to help local businesses rather than the big established ones. Two, it's easier to talk to a decision maker in the business, so it's easier to get our point across on how we want to work. And three, they're more commercially minded as well, so they're open to doing unusual ways of transacting on deals. They're more open to having getting a fee from us and stuff like that. So I would say focus on the independents. It's much easier to work with them, but don't completely disregard the nationals, because I work with a lot of the nationals and some of them are great.
Great tips. And if anyone, for what you just said on the previous question about the how to approach it with the agents, is a great transcript. So hope you guys were taking notes. Audrey says she's not sure, doesn't fully understand why it might not sell online if it's advertised at the true market value.
There could be tons of reasons. I'll give you the biggest reason for me is the estate agent's rubbish. Um, I I can't tell you the amount of times that I've seen a property on the market that I think this is an exceptional deal, and I look at it and it's been on the market for 2 months, and I call that estate agency up solid for 2 days, and no one answers or gets back to you, or you ask them questions and they don't know the answers to it. So that maybe they're trying to sell a tenanted property, and I might ask a simple question like, who lives in the property? Is it a family? Is it a couple? Do they work? Are they on benefits? And you just get, I don't know, we don't manage it. And if I'm an investor looking to buy that property, well, if I'm expected to buy it with tenants in situ, I need to know about the tenants that are going to be in situ. So there's various reasons, but sometimes properties just don't sell online. It's as simple as that. Maybe it's not the right client pool, for instance. For me, I work with investors that only want to buy off market properties. So although they could probably have gone online and bought it cheaper, they just don't have the time to go online and look for these properties. And they're relying on me as a property sourcer to go out and do that job for them. So there's various reasons why deals don't sell. There really is. But for me, the biggest thing is usually down to bad estate agents.
Yeah, I had one this week actually, and I walked past it and I spotted it and thought, oh, that's in my area. I wonder why I hadn't seen that online on the notifications. And because it was down on the portal as a maisonette, it didn't show
Mhm.
up in my search when I'd searched for, 3-bed houses or had that as a notification. So that it just kind of slipped through the net on everyone's searches.
Yeah.
And also the board that was outside was hidden behind a wall, and it was a one-way street, so anyone driving past just would never have seen. You'd have to kind of come the opposite way, which you wouldn't on a one-way street. Absolutely crazy. We have got
I've
lots
got,
of
I've got,
people
I've
coming
got,
through.
I've got another example actually
Yeah.
why it wouldn't sell, and sometimes it's a lack of knowledge with estate agents as well. So as property sourcers, we are always trying to be proactive around, like, I always call it polishing a turd, right? We look at a really bad deal and we try and make it work. That's what we're known for, like really trying to do that. And there was a property that I looked at that had something known as a flying freehold. So it basically had an alleyway that went through the house and the house sat over the top of it. Now, they had tried to sell this property for quite a while, and every time it was let down on the survey that the lender wasn't willing to lend. Um, Now, me, I went to my mortgage broker and I said, why would this house not be able to get a mortgage? And just that one question then educated me for future deals. And it was, if the property's flying freehold is more than 20% of the entire floor space in the property, then there is a very limited amount of lenders that will lend on that property.
Well,
So then the question was, well, who are the lenders that would, and can we find out what rate they would charge to lend on that? And once we found that out, we then knew the price that we had to negotiate the property at for it to stack for our investors. So that was the difference between us doing the same thing over and over again, keep trying to sell it, keep having the deals fall through, and actually being in a position where we can realize this is the problem, this is the solution, and the solution is we need this 10 grand cheaper so that it works for an investor to use this particular lender who's maybe charging 10 or 15% interest. So yeah, just it's sometimes it's just an education thing or a lack of education with agents.
That's where you bring the value, right? So people say, oh,
Exactly,
you're charging 10K or you charge 15K, whatever it is. Well, yeah, but you're bringing the value and you're able to sell the property, whereas it just would have sat there and who knows how long. And actually, if the seller wants it gone, then they're happy to, to pay you that extra fee in order to get rid of it
exactly,
sometimes.
exactly.
Great. Looks like we've got 4 discounted tickets left, guys. The link is in the chat, and we've got lots of people saying they're in. So we've got Bernie saying, I'm in, Nick's in. We've got Vatsal saying, I'm in, just got my tickets and enjoyed the Property and Entrepreneur Summit in Milton Keynes and looking forward to that one too. Amanda's all booked in as well. Lily has made a payment, but could we check whether that's gone through?
For
And
who?
Juliet,
Sorry.
Lee, L-E-E. And Juliet is also booked in. Rohit's booked in as well. Wow, okay. That 10.
Juliet is in.
Amy's
I
in,
can't see Lee though.
gone through PayPal. Tell you what, Lee, don't worry, we will sort that one out for you. If we need to, we'll honour it. Okay, so if it hasn't gone through for any reason, we'll make sure we offer it for you. Joe, yes, that is the discounted ticket and the one-to-one call. Yeah, that's it. Paul, what happens when people are in? Do they get an automatic email from Eventbrite? How does that work?
Yeah. So they'll get the Eventbrite link, which will have the Zoom link for the call for the 15th of July, Monday the 15th of July.
Okay, great. And Audrey's in as well. James is in. We've got no. Audrey's saying it's too good not to. Absolutely, guys, this is an absolute no-brainer if you want to be looking at doing these, making these bigger fees. No, there's no question about that. Okay, couple more. Should we have a couple more questions and then wrap up?
Yeah. Let's go for a couple more.
Okay, so Kelvin saying, don't you have to declare how much you are earning on the deal to all the relevant parties by law?
Yeah, the relevant party is the seller, and that's declared to the solicitor on exchange when they put it on the completion statement. But no, you don't. You don't have to tell the buyer what your fee is. It's irrelevant. You're contracted with the seller, not the buyer.
Oh. Yes, we guys are going to put an email in the chat in a second. If you want a recording of this, then you can email the team. But hold on 1 second. Yes, there's not enough hours in the day, Trevor, to do all of this good stuff. Well, when's the date on this? Just remind us when the date is for me. You got that screen on
So it's
the
Monday the 15th. So it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks time.
in 2 weeks' time. And if somebody couldn't make that time, then can they still buy it and get the recording?
Yeah, definitely. So the recording will be up for as long as you need it, and you can watch it back. I think on the last round, I think 20% of people weren't able to make it, but they but they watched it back online, and there is a discussion feature on the video as well, so you can ask questions.
Okay, if anyone who's in wants to take a screenshot of that, feel free to do so. Calvin says, because the buyer knows how much you agree the purchase price for, but they are paying more, how do you get around that when they realize how much commission you are getting? Great question.
Well, the buyer doesn't know.
No?
No. See, now if this was like a back to back, so if you were actually saying that you're buying it and you entered legals, yeah, if you were entering legals and then on exchange you were transferring the contract over to a new buyer, then they would certainly know what price you had it agreed at. Um, the main thing here is understanding your investors. So if you know your investors are looking for an 8% yield in Durham and you're presenting them with deals that stack at market value or below market value at an 8% yield, you're giving them what they want. The seller has said they want £80,000 for the deal, so they're happy. So whatever you make in between is what you're rewarded for facilitating two people being happy with the transaction. And that's how I look at it. It's irrelevant what is made in between if both parties are happy. The seller's happy with the price he's getting or she's getting. The buyer's happy because they're getting their target yield or return on investment, whatever criteria it is that you work off of.
Yeah. Okay. So Jem is saying, so the seller pays the agent the fee on the final price, even though, that's a great question. So does the seller pay the agent for the price that you negotiate it at or the price that you sell it on for?
So that's one that varies on the agent. So sometimes the seller will go to the agent and say, well, you've only been able to secure me a buyer for 120, so it's irrelevant that they sold it for 130. And sometimes it won't even be asked and they will automatically just do it for that. That's not something that I ever bother myself with. That's between
Yeah.
them. But yeah, it's completely up to them. If it ever became a problem, we're talking about hundreds of pounds, not thousands. I would say, you know what, I'll just pay them. Like
Yeah.
if I'm making £10,000 and it was such a big problem, and they're saying you're causing me a bit of a headache, I would just offer to pay it. And I do that quite regularly. Like out of my 10,000, 9 times out of 10, I will offer to pay for the buyer's solicitor and the seller's solicitor. And the reason I do that is because I want full control over my transactions because 9 deals out of 10 fall through bad solicitors, letting the leaving it too long, being bad at responses, stuff like that. Transactions fall through, time kills deals, all of those sayings. So for me, it's a very small investment in order to ensure that my deal goes through.
Yeah. And on the point on solicitors, do you recommend not recommend, but do you suggest some solicitors that they could use?
Yeah. I've got two solicitors that I work with. I always have two because I like to have one that's good on the buyer's side, one that's good on the seller's side. And if we've got multiple deals going through, it actually makes it much easier to progress those deals because then when they have a conversation with each other, they one already know each other, and two, uh, that one phone call, that one email will be about 10 different transactions. So it makes my job, or I should say my sales progressor's job, a lot easier as well.
That's true. And so when people sign up to the advanced course, do you have solicitors that you can introduce people to? Or is that kind of
Definitely. Yeah. I can introduce people to the solicitors. That's not a problem.
great? There you go, guys. Just for signing up tonight, that's worth it alone. Haley saying, is there more compliance needed for the vendor as well as the investor?
More compliant. No, it'd
No,
just be the
so
same. You just need to do your standard AML checks for both parties.
yeah, so just a normal, just a typical compliance as you would just for being a
Mm.
sourcer. So Haley, you've had access to that already, so just the same as those. Um, Hastings is asked, is the buyer's lender aware that the overage sourcing is going on? Don't really need to be aware, do
To
they?
be on, no, they don't. I think how you need to look at this, right? Let's say it's 100 grand sale price, and the agent's making 2%, right? So that's £98,000 that the seller gets from the transaction. That never is needed to be declared to the buyer's lender. It's never needed to be told to the buyer, for instance. So regardless of if it's £2,000 or £10,000, it doesn't change the whole aspect of a property transaction. The only difference is we've already worked out the net price that the vendor earns, and our fee's the difference. Whereas with an estate agent, they don't know what the sale price is and what their commission is until the deal goes through, because they're earning a percentage. But it's just not a question that would ever be asked. I think because it's higher amounts of money, a lot of us are just led to think this is going to be a bigger problem. But as long as you just treat it as a normal transaction, just like an estate agent would, it should never be something that is ever kind of raised.
Yeah. Jem is asking, how much do you, and I guess she means your team as well, get involved in the conveyancing and the transaction itself?
Every single inch of that transaction we are taking control of. So we are copied into every email correspondence between the two solicitors. We're direct with the mortgage broker so that we can speak with them. We'll basically tell the buyer, we will take away all the headache for you. Just give permission for us to speak to all the relevant parties. If we think of a normal transaction, there's a minimum of 12 third parties involved in it. So that's the council, that's maybe your accountant, two solicitors, a letting agent, a mortgage broker, a lender, a valuer, a surveyor. You need to be in control of all of those people to make sure everyone is doing their job. So that's why for me, I had to employ a sales progressor, because there just wasn't enough hours in the day for me to do that, source, sell, and run other businesses.
Yeah, I guess when people are just starting out and they've only got the first deal, then they can sort of, manage that. And then it's important to actually know the process of that, right, before you start bringing people on anyway.
Yeah, you can't manage someone if you don't understand their job role. So it's I'm still learning progression every single day. There's something new that comes up, but for me, I think it's an essential part. It doesn't matter how good you are at sourcing deals and then selling them on. We don't get paid until the deal completes. So for me, it's the most important part of the transaction.
Great. We are running out of time here. We have got the link that has gone into the chat. I'm guessing the 10 discounted ones have gone now. But it's still an absolute bargain, even at the
Well,
199.
you know what? What
Well,
I would do, Michelle, I'll leave it running until midnight. So if
oh,
anyone
okay.
isn't with their wallet or anything like that, and they want to do it when they get off the call, we'll leave it running until midnight. And then we would have sold out of those anyway, because I think we've gone over our quota.
Would be great. And Hannah saying, do you share the sales progression process during the advanced course?
Um, I don't, but that's definitely something that we could do on the
One-to-one.
yeah, on the one-to-one.
That sounds
And
like
that's more of a
pretty well
time thing.
spent.
That's like a whole hour's training
Yeah.
for that.
Um, that's a good one. Lee, do you have to have some sort of accreditation to be able to source deals? No,
Yeah,
just just
yeah,
yeah.
just your compliance. So you need to be registered with Property Ombudsman. You need to have your AML provisions with HMRC. Need insurance as well.
Do you
So
go
there
through that
are there are things you need.
on the web on the next webinar?
I don't, but I do have a free download for that as well. So yeah.
Great. We more questions coming through
Oh,
than we can take today. We've still got over like 60 people online with us at the end. Guys, absolutely fantastic. Paul, just want to wrap up with saying what people are going to get from learning from joining the Overage advanced course. Just to
yeah,
wrap up,
cool.
if you want to take a
Yeah,
screenshot of this, now is the time to do that to check what bonuses you get for booking tonight.
yeah, cool. So we'll have the 2 hour advanced training webinar where we'll go through it all. one of the most important parts is going through the contract together so that you fully understand it. And then you get the full recording so you can watch it over and over again. You'll get a copy of that contract as well, which is really important. You'll get access to 3 online trainings that I've done with my mentees as well. So speaking with agents, sales negotiating, and goal setting. And then if we look at the learn strategy, so we're going to be covering how to structure the deals, how to speak with the estate agents and get an on-market deal to become off-market, how to approach vendors, how to review your deals suitability. So that'll be looking at the market value, understanding that. And then, as I said, navigating the legal contract. Also go through a lot more of my case studies as well. Sorry, the voice is literally on the verge of going now.
Well, we will save your voice until that session there. Go on, give me one quick yes or no. Gemma says, can we bring a business partner? I'm guessing that if they can have a business partner that's online with them, sharing the Zoom link, with the Zoom
Mm.
access, is that okay? As
Yeah,
long as yeah.
if they were on the same computer, if it's 2 separate people, then it would have to be like we wouldn't have 20 tickets bought with 22 people on. So yeah, they would have to have bought a ticket if they're not going to be with you.
Okay, right. On that note, guys, there is the link in the chat one final time. So do go away, save that if you need to. Do whatever you need to do, perhaps choose a different card or whatever. You have got access to that this evening. That is live until midnight. So, guys, it's an absolute no-brainer. If you want a recording of tonight's session, then you have got the email in the chat as well. So, Paul, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for just holding out there with your voice for us. And we look forward to seeing everybody on the main advanced course session in 2 weeks' time. So looking forward to that. Congratulations to everyone who is in. You've all got an absolute bargain tonight. And we are proud to work with Paul and offer you guys affordable training at a great discount for you there. Cool. Thank you. And we'll see you next time.